And it is now a great pleasure to introduce our guest today. I have to say that two of our three guests are very familiar and very welcome faces here at Politics and Prose. I think we've had Mika Brzezinski with Joe Scarborough for two of her books, and Joe with Mika for two of her books, Mika with Joe for his book, both of them for Dr. Brzezinski's book. And now we're very pleased to have both of them here for Mrs. Brzezinski's unbelievably beautiful book, Lure of the Woods. If you haven't actually seen this book yet, you are going to be so tantalized by it. It's absolutely gorgeous. Her work is, of course, unique, wonderful. The fact that she uses an axe and a chainsaw itself is a little bit intimidating, but you can see the beautiful results when you thumb through the pages of it. And I am going to first introduce our first introducer, Joe Scarborough. I'm sure you all know, is co-anchor of Morning Joe with Mika. He's a former congressman from the great state of Florida. And we love having you. We're so glad to have you back. So thank you.
And congratulations on Hillary. That's amazing, huh? Speechwriter, worked on all of her books. You can ask her some tough questions, aren't you?
There'll be a few tough questions.
Yeah, I know you won't.
You accused me the other day of never blowing smoke, so I thought, okay, now I can really ask you some tough questions.
I love it. Well, good. That's an amazing event. Congratulations. So, well, it's always great for us to be back here for whatever reason, and this is especially a special day to come. And you all are familiar with the Brzezinski family. They're remarkable. Dr. Brzezinski, and this isn't even what Dr. Brzezinski will tell you. This is what experts will tell you. Dr. Brzezinski, obviously, one of the great thinkers and one of the great foreign policy thinkers of the 20th century, and one of the most influential in this century. And his influence will be felt for a very long time to come. A remarkable man. His children are remarkable. Ian Brzezinski, is Ian here?
Yeah. Oh, no, Ian.
No, Ian. Jenny is here. Jenny would be the first to admit, here's a man that worked in the Pentagon, and Ian's sort of a neocon.
Yeah.
Give the man a couple of tanks, he would invade Canada. Yep. So we have to keep him on a very short leash, but a wonderful man. Mark Brzezinski. I don't know how many of you saw the Royal Tenenbaums, Wes Anderson's movie about a remarkable family. The Brzezinskis are Washington's versions of the Royal Tenenbaums. They're extraordinary. Mark Brzezinski is ambassador to Sweden and is so sweet and so kind and so gentle that sometimes you forget that he actually is a Brzezinski. Until Mika tells you stories about how he would shove her face into cow patties growing up. So that sort of confirmed it. Now you tell this story all the time.
So sweet.
I know, it is sweet. And Mika's extraordinary too. I don't think I've ever met in my life a tougher, more compassionate, kind, gifted person. And she's just a joy to work with every day. And everybody that works with her will tell you the same thing about her, even if we are as scared of her as many people are of Dr. Brzezinski. But today you're going to meet a person who, especially after you leave through this book, that many of you will go away and think that perhaps she may be the most brilliant and gifted of all the Brzezinskis. What she does in examining the secret life of trees and what she has done throughout her life and her artistic career is nothing short of extraordinary. And it is a great honor to have her here and to even know her. And I can't wait. Let's introduce your mom up, Mika, and talk about this remarkable new book.
Okay. First of all, there is a chair for you, Joe, as you can see. So, Mom, come on up here. This is Emilie Brzezinski. She is a sculptor. Yeah. You take, you're there. Put my mom in the middle. Okay. Help her get up there. Mom, here, go have a seat. You have to listen. Come here. Go up there. And
see how tough she is? I told you. Very frightening.
I'm going to sit down too. because seriously, we have to get right to my mother, because she is, for someone who's sort of struggled openly with life as a working mother, my mother always knew who she was. She is a sculptor. She is an artist. She is an artist, and then she is a wife. She is an artist, and then she is a mother. She is a wife, a mother, and an artist, and she always knew that. All three of those were really important to her, and equally important, and that is why she is here today with this incredible book that really doesn't even begin to tell the story that she has told through all of our eyes as we watched her using a chainsaw and an axe, working away at these massive, several ton often, tree sculptures that she worked on. She really had a lifelong, and you said this in Miami, Mom, a compulsion with trees. She said the word compulsion. And what she does is she uncovers their secrets with a chainsaw. It took me a while to fully sort of realize the value of this, but when I did, there was no question in my mind that this book had to happen. And this book is really the culmination of a tumultuous relationship between mother and daughter. Have you ever heard of that before? We have one, and it is tumultuous, and we didn't agree on anything and everything, and she will tell you, I'll say it before you say it, I was the most difficult to raise, and very, very bad at school. And my mother found my secret and made sure it came out, even though I was as tough as I was. But when we came together on this idea, we agreed on the idea, on what this book should look like and be. And when you open it up, that is our vision, literally, when it came from the publishers, perfect. Absolutely perfect. So I can't wait to tell you all about it. I'm going to climb over here and have a seat as well. And I'll start with, first of all, Joseph why don't you go to the next slide, and tell us, Mom, if you could, about your compulsion with trees. Where did it begin, and why trees? Why wood? What was it about this medium that made you so obsessed?
My family is from Eastern Europe, and over there's a real appreciation and understanding of the forest and what it means in life. It's a solace, it's an escape, it's something beautiful you can revere, it's something totally extraordinary and different from your regular life. In other words, people really enjoyed the forest. Over here, there's less interest in forests. And really, computers and machines are much more down people's interests. And I find myself sometimes unable to get over to my public, my love, because they simply don't have that type of background.
So when we look at the slides, and we'll bring up Moody Spruce Echoes, I do have to mention, because I've told Joe these stories, about these tree trunks. They're massive, okay? You're not even half as tall as that. And before you tell us about it, my mother would find these trunks everywhere. Everywhere. One was in the middle of a 4-lane highway. One was in Maine. We're trying to have a family picnic, and we're all trying to get along. 3 teens and 2 parents. That's big enough of a challenge as it is. My mother, I must have that trunk. Look at that trunk. And how in the world does she figure it's going to get from Baker's Island 2 miles back to Northeast Harbor and then all the way down the coastline to Washington, D.C.?
Well,
But first you worked on it. How did you get it on land?
Well, first of all, I got the watermen to bring it on land. They hoisted it up like a boat, and we managed to get it on a truck. And then we took it to a place where I could work with a chainsaw, because I couldn't do that in my backyard. Too much noise. But I worked on it one summer, and then the next summer I decided to bring it down to D.C. And it traveled very well. I rented a U-Haul, and became part of my forest.
It wasn't just a U-Haul. It was a Mack truck flatbed. It was huge. She drove it herself. My father paced the master bedroom going for hours, paced it back and forth. She's crazy. She's crazy. She's crazy. I can't believe she would drive this 16 hours. She's crazy. And then, she's home. She's home. Mushka's home. So finally you made it home with the trunk.
Well, let me tell you, why do I use such huge pieces of wood? You might wonder, why does she trouble? The fact is that the larger the piece of wood you work with, the more reverence you have towards it. The more you understand that as you look at it, it becomes attenuated visually, so that it's a much more exciting series of lines and angles to work with than something which is sitting squat in front of you.
So tell us about this one, Moody Spruce Echoes, and where is it?
Yes, well, this piece of wood I got in Maine at a college where there was a very old property, and a spruce, which was growing there for hundreds of years, fell down, and they wanted to get rid of it. And luckily, I was there to see it, not fall down, but to, so to say, claim it. And this piece of wood was truly remarkable because it had very emotive surface caused by the branches. And I brought it home, I made it into a sculpture, and it now is in Cazenovia in their park.
Let's move to the next slide, Joseph, if you could. Okay, one of my favorites before she actually created Lament, which you'll see in a moment. But this one, I always envisioned myself jumping these. But you can't, because, Mom, tell us the name of this next piece, and also give us a sense of the scope and size of these.
Well, each of these pieces is 6.5 feet high. So actually, if you start measuring them sideways, it's 10 feet or 12 feet. They're really large.
Mm-hmm.
These actually have been used in several installations, one in the Corcoran, one up in school, I forget the name of it. And then finally it ended up in the Stone Quarry Hill Art Park. And it is most beautifully placed in the last one, because they are allowed to fly in the space of the hill.
The name is Skyline Passage. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, the next one, Skyward Oaks. This one's in Vancouver. And again, you have to get a sense, and it's difficult, of the size of this. And this is a good one to ask you a bit about not just the piece, but how you work with a chainsaw on such massive pieces. Are they laying down? Are they standing up when you work on them? And how do you not get hurt? Isn't it a good question?
I don't get hurt because I work carefully. I don't rush anything. I have my tools in good shape. All the cutting edges are very sharp, and that way you don't get into trouble. Trouble comes when you are lazy and don't do your care of your tools, and you get into trouble. I've never had a problem with a chainsaw. This piece is in Vancouver at the Biennale there, and it was in a beautiful setting where there was a lot of open space, and therefore the lines of the trunks were very clearly delineated. And it was there for 2 years, at which point we had to bring it home, but they loved it, the public loved it.
So, Mika, why don't you talk about your mother and explain the situation? Because for your mother, it's very normal to be carrying around chainsaws and, having pulleys and pulling up these massive tree trunks. And I love you saying, you take care of your chainsaw. Was it Benjamin Franklin who said, take care of your chainsaw, and your chainsaw will take care of you?
Exactly.
But explain, if you will, just for everybody here, what it's like going into your mother's workshop.
Right. Okay. First of all, it's a massive studio. You'll see it on the back of the book, where she actually looks a lot like me. And working with a winch and pulling these massive pieces. But I really, when she said I work slowly, I thought about how hard that was for her. And that's what I realized later in life, raising my own children. 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl, a husband working in the White House, and an art career. And a career that involves you working with a chainsaw and an axe and having a concept that you bring with you and you drag across the country and you hold on to every day and you start and stop. And let me tell you, with the 3 of us, she started and stopped all the time because I would try and get my time in between the chainsaw, like, Mom! And I'd wait for it to stop and, Mom! And she'd have to put it down, take off her hat or her earmuffs and come on up to the house. And, I never really knew what I was costing her when I did that. And she never let me know, which is what a mother does. But the artist in her was dying inside. And I know it now because it is such monumental work. It's not something you do in a day. Some of these pieces took years. If we can go to the next slide. Okay.
Let me just interject here that when I work on the ground. I never work standing up with the piece standing in front of me because that is extremely dangerous. Lifting the saw above your shoulders is not the right thing to do. So basically what I'm doing is working relaxed down on the ground so that there is no sort of strain on my body.
Okay. This next slide is family trees, and I'm just going to say we have an issue on this one. Because she could not have found the worst picture of me. That's all I'm gonna say. You have to work hard for this one. But she put a picture of us in each of the trees. And the concept is amazing. Where is this one now? Because it's on display.
It's actually in a place called IVAM, which is in Valencia, Spain. And we have it permanently located over there in a beautiful museum. It went on tour after showing it here several times. It went on tour to Europe. It went to Prague, it went to Gdańsk, and then from Gdańsk it went to IVAM.
Tell us about the concept.
Oh, the concept. It's really a sort of, it's a self-identification. This is a very personal statement that I have made. It shows that my children, born in America, make me more an American.
Okay, now I feel bad. I think it's a great. I love it, and our kids are in it, and little Aurora is in it. Every one of us, and when
I've got to say, it's a wonderful picture of your father.
it is, he
Found
looks
a very
good.
striking, very
Handsome.
rugged.
Amazing. It's funny how that works out. This next slide is my favorite, and I think arguably one of my father's favorites. And if I can just first, that's my mom and I at the Thrive Conference in New York City, where it was on stage. I will tell you, I sent Ariana a video of this piece entitled Lament. And she immediately texted me back, and I could hear her accent. We must have it on stage, Mika. Immediately. You have no idea what it took to get these pieces on stage at the City Center in New York City. But we had to do it because they are piercingly beautiful. And if you look at the engineering, Joe, I mean, this is the thing that my mother knows about wood. She knows when it can stand up, when it's not going to collapse, how it feels, how it behaves, where it's going, the lines.
This is such an important slide for all of you all to see, too, because it is so hard to see the scale of what she does, how massive it is, and how much attention each piece takes and how long each piece takes. But explain this, and I'll ask the question that other people have asked in past book events. How do you make sure that that one behind you doesn't fall over on you? What do you do? What do you do to hold the trees up?
Well, actually, it's a matter of balancing, and actually, these things are so stable that we can push them along the ground and they won't fall over. It's not exactly dangerous. It's really quite safe. I started the composition with the one on the left. I found this totally extraordinary piece of wood which was practically doubled over. This is very rare, in fact, impossible to find in red oaks. Red oaks usually stand very straight and tall. But here I found in the Western Virginia a tree that did something so strange and unusual, I had to have it, and I actually bought it and took it home. It was in a show, but I felt that it needed an extra help, and so I got the middle one to work with it, and finally I realized that I had in my studio the very piece that would finish it, and so I put it together and showed it with Mika.
And the title evokes the feeling, lament, sorrow, sadness.
This is the lament of our decade.
The lament of our decade.
The lament of our decade. Yeah.
So what I also love about her pieces, and the one that is sort of craning over, you can actually stand inside it and experience the movement of the tree and smell it. And I can do that in her studio. I did that growing up, never fearing they would ever fall down, because her sense of their engineering, really, is so attuned in my mother's brain. This next piece is a little bit about the sadness of this generation. Can you explain? We have a photo here with lots of faces, and then you inside what is soon to be finished, entitled Ukraine Trunk.
Yes. I was looking through the newspaper and saw a really remarkable photograph that came from Ukraine, and it was called Kiev Square. And what was remarkable about this photograph was that there was not one single face that was happy. And these were all grim, miserable people. And it struck me as very emotive and surprising. And I felt I had to somehow honor it. And I did have this trunk in my studio, which I immediately decided to smooth out inside and put the photographic image inside it. And so that I'm working on this right now in my studio, and I'm really looking forward to finishing it.
Okay, and the next slide we have is my mother's a spokesmodel now. She has a new career. Not that she has enough to do. Steel Chainsaws is making her one of their spokesmodels. They have a new campaign. They're shooting it this summer, and they're taping every bit of her work being brought into the Krieger Museum. There's going to be a big event on September 18th. She's going to have 12 pieces shown at the Krieger, so look out for that. And they're going to be videotaping all of this, plus videotaping my mother using her chainsaw from what year? How old is your chainsaw?
Well, I have several.
Oh, 'cause she has several. You know, who says that, by the way? I have several. Some of yours are old and heavy.
Yes.
And they are going to be...
They're about 20 years old.
20 years old. Okay, well, that's brand new in my house. They're going to be presenting my mother with a battery-operated one, and I'm very...
Something new.
Yes, I'm very skeptical because it's light, and she won't like it. But they're going to have her in their campaign, which is entitled Real People, Steel People. And you would not believe how many people in America use chainsaws. They are not just for the workman's zone anymore. There are woodworkers and sculptors and all sorts of people out there. And so they think my mother is a perfect candidate for their campaign. I think you look cool. Now on to the most important slide, me. So that's us at the Thrive Conference, and I do ask this in all seriousness, but also half joking, because I always, when I studied her work, Uncovering the Secret Shapes of Trees, which was the title of the CBS piece that I did on her years ago on Mother's Day, I feel like when she raised us 3 kids, she helped uncover our secrets too. And I don't think you see it as that much of an alignment, but it was hard to work on your sculptures and raise us. And I wonder how you would characterize raising us versus working on your career with wood. Which did you like better?
Well, actually, I can say I loved it all. I did what was in front of me. I made a line of things to do, and I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the only way we mothers can work. Otherwise, we get lost in details. And yes, it is difficult sometimes that you have to stop something and start something else. But I managed it all right. I think all my children appreciate what they got out of their mother, and I certainly appreciated what I got out of my kids.
I will say my brother Mark, since he's not here, he didn't like it. I will say that I was a little embarrassed at times. If my mother did rubber molds of trees, and when that happened, she would climb the tree and paint the rubber on and then pull it off and pour resin in and create this incredible sculpture where you can see the tree from the inside out. But the process on school property, really? It was just kind of hard to understand at a young age. And I think Mark was the one who wanted you to be more, normal.
Who wanted me in high heels and in smart suits to go downtown shopping in smart suits. And he felt that there was something lacking in me as a mother.
Well, today we understand, and I'm truly can't even begin to say how proud I am of my mother. Joe's walking over to my dad for a quick comment, and then we're going to open it up to questions if you have any for the artist.
Could you,
Go ahead.
Sir, you're
Go
familiar
ahead.
with the artist
Yes,
here.
yes.
And
Have him characterize, perhaps, her body of work.
I could do that. Mika, would you like to ask a question for me? She's saying no. Could you stand up, Dr. Brzezinski, and tell us about Dr. Brzezinski? There's certainly a tough trade-off during the White House years, especially. But as soon as you got out of the White House, it was like a baton was handed to her, and she took off, right?
Well, it was a trial, most of my life, but also a mystery. She finds something in trees. I would always find something in her. Some new dimension, some new aspect. Very challenging, very enriching, terribly confusing, often totally frustrating, but what can I say? Endlessly meaningful.
Oh.
I didn't know how to speak, so I'm sorry. I'm improvising desperately.
That was perfect.
You're doing well.
I
Thank
think
you
that
so
just
much,
summed
Dr.
it up.
Brzezinski.
Oh.
Mika, you talk about the extraordinary balance that your parents had growing up, that your father and your mother, how they supported each other, and how it was difficult at times, but it was a compromise between 1,000 things going on, but extraordinary things happened in McLean at that old farmhouse.
Well, and I think she actually kept us all together by keeping herself connected with who she was. And, this is a woman who would work all day with the chainsaw in the studio all day. In the hot sun, in the heat of the summer, in the cold of the winter, and loved every second of it, and then would just brush herself off and go quickly change and go meet my father for a dinner at the White House or something. She found a way to do all these things at once, not perfectly, but she never tried to be perfect. She just wanted to be an artist. So she probably had sawdust in her hair at a couple of these events she went to, and very, very, very rough hands. But who cares? She was there in her essence, and she never lost sight of exactly who she was. And I don't think we would have made it as a family, quite frankly, if she didn't hold on to that. Do we have questions for the artist? Oh, right here, sir.
It sort of reminds me of the family in the Black Hills working on Crazy Horse.
Something
which is
like that.
Still going on. A comment and a question. The comment is, if you go to the west end of Tulip Avenue in Tacoma Park, it's like 5 miles north of here, there's a house that has 2.5 tree sculptures. And one's a dragon around a tree that died on the property. He was carved by a grandson of Alexander Calder, who came down from Connecticut. And another one is a heron and a trout going around a tree. They're pretty neat. It's a corner house, and you can drive around and see at least 2 of them. The heron's hard to see. And the question is, besides using a winch to move these huge pieces of oak, do you also use a crane?
I rent a forklift, which
big
I drive.
forklift.
It's a big one because you have to pick up these big tree trunks. But so far, I've managed very well in moving and standing and stabilizing my work with the help of that forklift.
Mika, you and I have something in common. My late mother was Polish from Sosnowiec. Her maiden name is Czeszla, which means roof carpenter, correct? And my grandfather had a lumber mill. So your work really speaks to me, Mrs. Brzezinski. My mother was also an abstract expressionist painter with bright colors, and I never understood her work until I went to Poland and I saw the colors of the flowers. So I wonder how much you, as the artist, draw from your roots in Poland. And for Mika, have you visited Poland? And
Yes,
did
but
that?
she's Czech.
Oh, sorry.
And it's her, and she,
Sorry,
but
I'm
she does
thinking
draw from her
but-
roots.
Well, they have woods in Czech too.
What's interesting to me about myself is that my heritage, willy-nilly, always came out.
Exactly.
There was nothing I could do to escape it. And I grew up in California. I went to Wellesley College, and I started working, and somehow always that Eastern European flavor came out.
Well, it's great roots. I'm proud of mine. I assume
I think
Mika's
it's so
too.
interesting also, Mika, when you look at the Ukraine trunk and you see those faces could have been in Gdansk in 1980, in 1981, and you go back and you look at the history of your family, of your father leaving Poland when he did, and also your mother leaving Czechoslovakia when she did, and then England when she did, and of course the harrowing trip over to the United States. Why don't you talk about that?
Well, I'll let you tell that story if you'd like, but I guess the question is how much you and the concept of how much you draw, not just from what strikes you and you instinctively see in a tree, but also what's happening in the world and where you came from.
Well, that's typical of the Ukraine trunk because actually I could have left the tree as a monument to how would I say that, to growing things, but during that time the Ukraine crisis was going on, and I was somehow compelled to do something with Ukraine.
I want to end on a happy note, unless we have any more questions.
You have to tell the venison story.
Oh, the venison story? Oh, no, that's not allowed. Oh, and I'm being banished from the family.
She said no way.
I will tell you this. I will tell you this. I wrote All Things at Once, dedicated to my mother, and as a great example to our tumultuous and fantastic, rich relationship, she got her hands on the galleys of my memoir, which is quite frankly, turned out to be a book about her, dedicated to her. And my daughter called me from Maine and said, "Mom, Bumba her name's Bumba, and the kids call them Bumba and Chief. Chief, of course. Bumba has gotten hold of the copy of your book, the pre-copy, and she's written all over it lies, and she's crossed everything out. Mom, she's really mad."
And these are the stories in there about
there's lots of
venison.
dead deer and
But
stuff.
a lot of dead deer, a lot of chainsaws. But Dr. Brzezinski, though, from what you told me, actually sat there and was the great negotiator between you and your mother.
Yes.
So Camp David was nothing compared to
You
that.
know what? This book is by far the proudest, quite frankly, point in my life, and I didn't even write it. But I'm just so happy that the star of our family is born. And I will ask you as you close to tell us about the way you leave a lot of these, because sometimes she'll actually capitalize on you have so much joy in what happens to trees and the process, even bugs and lines. You see what others would throw away sometimes.
Exactly. Actually, the traditional way of approaching trees is that you get rid of all the knots and you get rid of all the roughness, and then it's perfect. And I'm just the opposite. I find the anomalies. I find the things that went wrong, bug holes or whatever. And I like to point them out as pieces of history.
Now I see the synergy with raising children. See? Okay. Mom, thank you so much. Emilie
Thank you.
Brzezinski, artist, sculpture.